Hi guys. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to kind of clean up and kind of take down the count of faces on each one of your meshes, and I'm also going to teach you how to blow it up and split it in half to create your waffle structure that your pre-existing waffle fits into. So for now I'm just going to orient my 3D scanned rock with my other one, and I'm going to draw a plane and hit my vertical tab here. I'm going to draw them up, and I'm just going to move my mesh over. So some of you are going to have the difficulty of splitting this guy in half, and there's too many faces to go along with it. So one strategy for this would be to type in reduce mesh. And the first operation we're going to do is click this little button here that says or planar only. We're going to hit that first. This might take a little teeny bit of time to reduce, and basically this command is taking away duplicate faces that are overlapping, anything that's unnecessary within this mesh. This might take a little bit of time. All right, once that's all finished up, you can see that your mesh kind of slightly modified itself a little teeny bit. One other tactic I typically do if you do the mesh reduce is unclick this box, and I typically just take it down by a percentage. Start off with 25, and this should run relatively quick. Basically this will allow Rhino to split this mesh without any issues. So I typically do this once just to help out with the workflow and also kind of speed things up for sectioning, and also it gives you a little bit extra freedom to operate with the mesh a little bit more efficiently. So this one, it gives you a percentage box up here, but this mesh is pretty thick, so we'll just have to wait this one out. All right. So next, we are going to select our mesh, type in mesh split, hit enter with our plane in there. Basically that'll cut our rock in half. So we'll just delete out the side that we're not going to use. We'll type in fill mesh holes, and that'll give us a nice flat face, and it'll say closed mesh. Some of these meshes might show up with kind of invisible aspects to them. That's just a glitch within Rhino. It'll be totally fine. So the next step is just push that rock right back over, and I'm going to hide my faceted rock here. Basically we're going to just scale this up. So according to the assignment, we need to scale it up quite a bit bigger than what it was before. So I'm going to hit scale and then select a point using my vertex tool here, and start scaling up from there on the flat face so it stays aligned with my box. That looks pretty big. We could probably take it down just a little bit so that box fits in there. It's not so out of scale. There we go. And so looks like it's a little bit farther ahead, so I'm going to just line it up with the box. Perfect. So after this, what I'm going to do is just take my pre-existing box that I had from the last assignment and hide my waffles away, so we just have kind of a lock box in there. I'm just going to lock that using Control L. So next we're just going to do the same operations for the past assignment with contours. This one I'm just going to slice it up at 0.5 inches all the way across. This should go relatively quick. So you'll notice that my box is sticking out here quite a bit. So we're going to scale this rock right back up so we don't have any overlapping pieces. Looks like that's pretty clean. Let's hit the contour command again. This is 1/2 inch all the way across. And if you'll notice here, looks like we have a lot more detail into our rocks now. So just like the past assignment, I'm going to hit Control G to group them. I'm just going to move them over 10 inches to get them out of the way. And then let's contour it in the opposite direction. Let's do it up. And 1/2 inch again. You guys can vary your dimensions to whatever you like. I'm going to group these again. I'm going to join them. I'm going to move them over 10 inches once again. And the other set, I'm going to join them because I forgot that in the last step. Next, let's do our planar surface. This might take a little while because there's a lot more detail to these. And I'm just going to go to my Select tab here. This button here will be Select Last Created Objects. And basically, we take those and move them over. These are our surfaces we're going to be working with. And as you can see here, it's pretty detailed on the contours here. And I'm just going to group those and start on our next batch. I'm just going to lock the ones we had before down. And let's hit Planar Surface once again. Again, this might take a little teeny bit of time. And let's lock the curves down that we had before, select our last objects, and move them over once again. Perfect. So now I'm just going to copy these guys over so we can get kind of a nice little working space here. I'm going to rotate them so I can see what's happening. And look at those kind of beautiful waffles happening here with pretty high resolution to the 3D printed or 3D scanned rock here. So next, I'm going to offset surface to my material thickness. So I'm going to say here I'm using 1/16 of an inch. Know both sides, make sure it's solid, hit enter. And this might take a little bit of time again. Let's group those guys together. Let's select our other ones, type in offset surface again. There we go. That looks pretty good. So next step, we're going to make the notches. So let's copy these guys over. So let's copy just one side, not pasting. And let's pick a point that we know where all these can fit. So let's just set a point downward like so, right to there, and just make a little point using our point tool there. So again, we're just going to Boolean subtract our move set. This might take a little bit of time since there's a lot more detail. And some of these pieces, they might be so small, just looking at this one, that you might not have to include it in your model because there might not be any overlapping happening. So just kind of be thorough when you're kind of rolling through your digital model and kind of delete out pieces that are too small to fit because there's no way that a notch will actually fit in them. And it's pretty useless after that. Go. So it looks like my Boolean union failed. So what I'm going to do is just kind of do this manually. And so basically I know if we ungroup these just a little bit, and let's just delete out pieces that aren't touching. And basically we're just going to take them out. So I know, let's ungroup that once again. So I know that piece isn't going to be able to touch. I know this one is going to be able to touch. And you guys might have this problem with your last assignment. So it's not anything to worry about. It's just part of it. So basically I'm just going to take everything once again and Boolean subtract just kind of sequentially. So let's just select these first few for the first round here. we got our notches here. Let's select those again and keep kind of going down our little line here. Just start subtracting. This might be a little time consuming, but it's part of it. So I'm going to speed this up, and we'll just get right to the end product. All right, guys, so looks like I have everything booleaned out. And typically with your waffles here, you kind of want to examine throughout your entire piece after you kind of lay out everything to make sure everything kind of fits together. So whether you notch it or not, or you take less slices than I did, you kind of want to just make sure the notches are fitting together and there's no small straggly pieces that aren't interlocking. But if you do it at higher resolution, possibly with less kind of contours than I did, you're going to get a beautiful effect. So it's really surprising what little pieces you can use to get the desired effect. So the next step I'm going to do is boolean out this box. So this is the kind of trickier part. So I'm just going to rotate this guy back up. Delete out this point. I'm just going to hide everything that I don't need. Take away these guys. Hide that. So I'm just going to move this over here. So we need the boolean out the box so your past assignment fits inside. So if I'm looking correctly, we might have to kind of, if you guys keep everything in the same plane, it'll actually work out a little bit better than what I'm doing currently. There we go. So I know that was 5 inches away from my past model, so I'm just going to move this guy over 5 inches. Oop, one more. All right. I'm just going to take this box and orient it to meet up with my new waffle. So this part's pretty easy, actually. So basically what you want to do is just take your bounding box from your original waffle and just kind of, you're going to want to scale 1D it so it's larger than your waffles. So it's sticking out similar to this. So I typically just copy it because I'm only going to do one set at a time. So select one set of your waffles here, hit the box. This should be a relatively easy Boolean that happens. And then if you had your box copied, basically just copy it back out. And I didn't have these guys grouped, so that's kind of unfortunate. So I take that, and then I'm going to do the same command, Boolean subtract. And again, this should be relatively easy. It take a little bit of time. In some cases, you want to kind of remeasure how your waffle actually came out. So your digital model might be slightly different than your physical model. So you want to make sure it fits. Otherwise, it could be kind of a disaster to try to fit it back within these boundaries. So it looks like this is a little bit of a tight fit. So what I'm going to do is just kind of scale it so it fits in the middle. I might just hide these guys so it makes it a little easier to kind of visualize. And then I'll lock these guys down. And I'm just going to take these and Boolean subtract one more time. This might be a little easier on it. So sometimes on Booleans, when you have faces directly on faces, it doesn't really Boolean out too well, so that's why I kind of scaled it in one direction. So there we are. So this should fit your pre-existing model. So if we do our unlock selected, or show where our original box was, I'm just going to copy that guy, and if we bring it over, it should fit just about perfectly into our new waffle. There we are. So this could get a little tricky if you go to the resolution I showed you here, but if you start to do maybe not a ½ inch or an inch on each one of these, it'll make a pretty beautiful model that has full volume and it fits your original model.